Hello, my name is Jean Kropper. I'd like to welcome you to 10-minute meditative drawing techniques to let go of anxiety, stress, and worries. I'm in Sydney, Australia, and I'm just letting some people in. We'll begin in a moment, and I'm excited about today's session, and I'm glad that you're here. Now, while we're waiting for others to arrive, you're going to need several sheets of paper. Any sort of blank paper, copy paper is just fine, and a couple markers or pen and pencil, doesn't matter which, but you might want to get those now while we're just letting people in.
It's going to be an hour-long webinar, but we've got 3 10-minute exercises that I'm going to include. That's the framework for what's going on here. I'll talk about stress and about meditative drawing. Then we'll have the 3 techniques. I've worked with several healing practitioners along the way, learned from each of them, and I've done a lot of my own research, and that's where these exercises come from. I'll show you some techniques to give you immediate relief from an overthinking, busy brain. And this is Nancy Guppy, who is struggling with grief, having lost both parents within 12 months. And these techniques were ones that could help her dive into grief, but move out of it again. And so she didn't get stuck there. Carrie Harson, a veteran with PTSD tremors. She found that the meditative drawing session calmed her tremor, calling the exercises superb. And Dulcie Lupton said, I found it very relaxing, a little mindfulness exercise. I'd recommend it definitely. And Helen McGuire discovered she could use the drawing exercises to help with end-of-the-day relaxation and falling asleep. These are 3 simple exercises that I'll show you today. They're techniques that ordinary people are using to slash stress using a powerful technique called meditative drawing. It silences the mental tornado in your mind and transforms raw anxiety into calm, creative energy. And even if you can't draw a stick figure, drawing skills are definitely not needed, and you'll see that in the exercises. So right now you might be thinking, what are we talking about here? Is this mindfulness or art therapy or a calming meditation thing? Well, it's none of those, but it's also all of them in a way that you haven't seen combined before. What you're about to experience is called meditative drawing. It's a fast, physical method to calm your nervous system without needing to think positive or be at all artistic. So we're going to go on a journey together, transforming stress into creativity and calm. We're going to do the 3 practical art therapy exercises so you can experience how this works. And they work even if you're feeling overwhelmed by stress daily, if art was never your thing in school, if you're skeptical about art therapy, and even if your stress is too deep. This isn't your typical stress relief method. It's simple, it's a little odd, surprising, fun, and incredibly effective at improving your emotional well-being. I've done these techniques with kids who are dealing with the pain of arthritis and with adults, and we use them in business conferences. They're very, very usable for a lot of different people. These complement any traditional therapy or medication that you're using now. This is not a competition. It's something that complements what you're doing already.
Here's what you'll learn during the session. I'll guide you through 3 simple meditative drawing techniques that have the power to transform stress into creativity and calm. I'll share research and explain why these techniques work. I'll show you how to still your busy monkey mind and boost your ability to focus. So if you've been feeling restless and overwhelmed, I'll show you how to turn that around into focus, energy, and creativity. You'll learn how to release deep-seated emotions without digging up past traumas or diving into old stories. I found this very, very useful. This is a way to tackle rage, depression, and anxiety with the release and replace technique. Then I'll share how to rewire your nervous system from being in crisis to calm and creative using the Draw Yourself Calm practice. It can also double as a powerful end-of-the-day ritual. This helps you become more open to joy. And lastly, I'll share how to unlock profound and enduring change, breaking the distressing cycle of fleeting solutions, and helping you reach calm faster and recharging your spirit.
So during today's session, you'll gain tools and techniques to take charge of your emotional well-being. That's my goal. Hey, we've got an hour together today, and I know that's a commitment on your part. So to encourage you to stay so that you receive the full value of the session, I'd like to share a special gift of a recording for everyone who's here at the end. And I'll give you a copy of that for free. It's a recorded session that's called Nervous System Reset, and it's designed specifically for anxiety, fears, and worries. And it includes exercises for interrupting overthinking, a yoga nidra grounding exercise, a sound meditation, and breath work. These are practical exercises you can use daily to manage your mental well-being or use with clients. And I'll give you that at the end. So, who's this training for? I'm delivering this for 3 types of people. If you regularly find yourself feeling stressed or overwhelmed and want a reliable method to flick the switch to calm, then you're in the right place. This is also for overthinkers who want more than temporary relief. And this is for you if you need a way to retake control of your emotional well-being. If you're finding that stress is interrupting focus and productivity, then you're in the right place. Why now? These skills are so important right now. The world feels more chaotic and more uncertain than it ever has. There's global turmoil, there's nonstop news cycles, there's economic pressures, and a real flood of anxiety that never seems to let up. It's not just stress anymore. It's a constant noise. Social media outrage, polarizing opinions, left versus right. It can be very exhausting. We're being pulled in a million directions and constantly reacting, yet rarely having time to reflect. And for many of us, it feels like there's no off switch. And that's why meditative drawing is so important right now. Because if you don't have a way of turning off, breaking that busyness, stress creeps in, and it can take a big toll. It affects your sleep, your focus, your digestion, your relationships, your entire nervous system. When I was under a lot of stress with PTSD, I had a lot of food allergies. And when my stress went down, they all went away, which was fascinating. It told me a lot about stress and digestion. These techniques and the importance of them is why major companies like Google and Nike are investing heavily in meditation and well-being programs. They want to protect their teams from burnout. In fact, 61% of U.S. employers now offer on-site yoga or meditation classes, and that's up just from 22% in 2022. So that's nearly triple in just 3 years. So these companies could choose any wellness approach, but they're choosing mindfulness and creative practices. And why? Because they work. So today I'm sharing the same stress transformation techniques in a way that's simple, accessible, and even enjoyable so that you can use them yourself. Okay, so who am I and why should you listen to me? That's a fair question. Well, if we haven't met, my name is Jean Kropper. I'm an internationally published author. I've led creative workshops across the USA, Canada, and Australia for the past 25 years. I've spoken at business conferences like Women with Altitude and led workshops for charities such as Wounded Warriors and Arthritis New South Wales. Now, everyone needs skills to take care of their well-being, and life is pretty tough otherwise. I know these techniques work because they worked for me. And before I discovered these techniques, I was in a pretty dark place. Life had thrown some pretty heavy things my way. After 19 years of marriage, my husband became a volatile alcoholic, and I left home because it was unsafe. I tried to include him in our son's life, and that didn't work. I had years of stress, trauma, and emotional exhaustion. I was running on empty and trying to keep everything together for my son. We both developed post-traumatic stress in the chaos. These techniques have helped me calm the chaos in my mind, and they gave me a lifeline. They helped me rebuild from the inside out. And these simple practices help me reclaim my sense of self, and they can do the same for you. I've developed a unique approach that blends art and mindfulness that's called meditative drawing. These art therapy or meditative drawing techniques have been transformational for so many, and I'm delighted to share them with you. After my son and I moved out of our own home, I started a healing journey as a way of overcoming my own struggle with PTSD, anxiety, and insomnia. There were some hard years, and at first I struggled a lot, really not understanding what was wrong with me, because PTSD is a very odd mix of symptoms. In addition, I saw the consequences of unchecked mental illness in my husband's family. There was a lot of depression, alcoholism, and there were 2 suicides. Eventually, I realized that I needed to learn effective ways to heal and to manage my own well-being. I worked with a whole series of healing practitioners over about 10 years and learned from each of them, as well as doing extensive research. I share these techniques with others through my meditative drawing workshops. Basically, my goal is to help others to heal faster than I did by making the benefits of art therapy, of mindfulness, and meditation more accessible. Why meditative drawing is the most effective solution for stress management and well-being. You're probably thinking, hey, this sounds interesting, but is it really going to help with my stress levels? I've tried other things before. So right now I'm going to show you why I believe meditative drawing is the most effective solution. Okay, reason number 1, decreased stress levels. Here's the first piece of evidence. A U.S. National Library of Medicine did a comprehensive analysis of 37 psychological studies, and they've shown that just 45 minutes of art making decreased the levels of the stress hormone cortisol in 75% of the participants. And of those 75%, it was an 81.1 reduction in cortisol, so in stress levels. So think about that for a second. 81.1% reduction in stress, not 8%, not 18%, but 81.1% reduction in stress for less than an hour of creative activity. So these aren't small improvements. They're really life-changing transformations. Industry recognition, reason number 2. The healthcare industry has finally taken notice in a big way. 80% of U.S. hospitals now invest in arts activities for patients or staff. Why? Because they've seen dramatic improvements in emotional well-being, intangible results of shorter patient stays, and decreased staff burnout. And hospitals only care about one thing, what actually works. They have to. When an industry is that focused on real health outcomes, adopts these practices at scale, it tells you a lot about their effectiveness. So here's what's happening. Drawing triggers your body's production of what scientists call the happy hormones. That's serotonin, the endorphins, and dopamine. And research shows that these creative art therapies significantly reduce anxiety and depression while improving your ability to do emotional regulation. That's less moodiness. So when 80% of hospitals use it, you know that it works. Okay, creative activity succeeds where meditation fails. Here's the thing about traditional meditation. It has a massive dropout rate. Studies show that 70% of people who try meditation give up within the first few weeks. Why? Because sitting still with racing thoughts can feel very frustrating when you're stressed. The meditation may make a difference, but it just doesn't feel like that. That's where meditative drawing succeeds. Your mind is something engaging to focus on. That's the drawing. So naturally, you slip into that meditative state without that struggle. You don't have to fight your thoughts, no feeling like you're doing it wrong. You just put pen to paper and you're there. Reason number 4, unmatched accessibility. What makes meditative drawing so powerful is its accessibility. It can be practiced anywhere since you only need a set of markers and some blank paper. It's not expensive. It's not complicated. There's a lot of wisdom behind it, but the doing of it is very simple. And not only that, meditative drawing has all the benefits of meditation, but you're not sitting there getting frustrated. It can channel your focus into the drawing, which provides a tangible creative outlet. Now, while others are struggling with complicated or expensive solutions, you can achieve calm and balance with just a pen and paper and meditative drawing. So once you get the hang of the techniques and you've learned how to do them and gotten into the routine, you can just do them by yourselves. So you can finally stop stress overwhelming your life. The numbers tell a story. From Fortune 500 companies to hospitals, mindfulness and art-based practices are proving to be game changers for both well-being and productivity. So meditative drawing combines the best of these approaches in one simple, accessible practice. Next, I'm diving into the biggest misconceptions about stress. So if these techniques are so effective, why isn't everyone embracing them? And why do so many people try meditation and mindfulness and then abandon it? So let me share what I've observed through years of working with people struggling with stress, anxiety, and PTSD. There are 2 types of barriers that keep people stuck. Misconceptions about how these practices work and common mistakes in approaching them. So, first misconception is meditation doesn't work. This is a very logical conclusion to come to after attempting to sit with a tornado of busy thoughts, experiencing frustration. But here's what most people don't realize. Meditative drawing works precisely because it's fundamentally different from traditional approaches. It doesn't require you to clear your mind, the very things that make meditation frustrating for overthinkers. But meditation itself, even when you have a busy brain, it does make a significant difference, but it doesn't feel like it's making a difference, so they stop. Meditative drawing can change that. So just like Carrie, the veteran with PTSD tremors who found immediate relief, you may discover that this different approach is exactly what your nervous system needs. So you don't need to have an artistic talent to benefit from meditative drawing. You only need to be able to hold a pen and make marks on paper. Okay. Myth number 2. Another misconception is that you need artistic talent. It's like, ooh, meditative drawing. Surely you have to be able to draw. This is probably the biggest misconception I hear. People tell me, Jean, hey, I can't even draw a straight line, or art isn't my thing, or it was miserable for me in school. And they think that creative approaches are only for artistic types, not analytical thinkers or logical minds. Now, I do understand, but the truth is meditative drawing has absolutely nothing to do with artistic skills, and you'll see this in our exercises. The therapeutic benefits come from the process, not the final product. You can throw away the drawing at the end. It's not about that. And in fact, these techniques can work better for logical, analytical minds because they engage both hemispheres of the brain. So when lawyers, IT professionals, and financial analysts join our workshops, they often discover they experience the most dramatic results. Why? Because their busy analytical minds finally get a constructive outlet that bypasses their usual overthinking. So meditative drawing can succeed where others have not. So meditative drawing can succeed where other techniques have not. Misconceptions 3, art's just a hobby, not a therapeutic tool. Many people dismiss drawing as merely recreational, something nice, but no power to heal. However, there are many, many research projects that have shown that it can make a massive difference. And consider the source of this belief, which is our medical system. And the medical system prescribes medication or surgery. And even though highly effective, it doesn't prescribe art making or many other healing processes. Yet the history and research tells a completely different story where art making is used for healing in many cultures. Now, drawing is a process. The physical act of drawing activates the neural pathways in the brain, and it bypasses the usual patterns of overthinking. It creates a biochemical change in the brain, and that's precisely why it works when traditional approaches fail. And if you're skeptical about this, remember, I would never suggest you abandon any traditional care. These practices complement rather than replace other approaches, and often making traditional therapy more effective and accelerating progress. And I know there's many health practitioners who signed up for the webinar, and I really appreciate your being here. I always like learning from other practitioners. Creativity really is a scientifically backed path to healing. There's many different kinds of studies that have been done around creative practices showing that it does decrease stress. Okay, myth number 4, even if it works, I won't stick with it. Why would this be any different? Once you develop the habit of meditative drawing and just get used to the process, it can be very satisfying as a creative outlet, simply playing with color and line while calming down. And if you choose to do the exercises at home or in a group workshop, you can tap into the supportive energy to cheer each other on. And I've absolutely seen that in workshops. And even on your own, it can be a very simple and pleasing way to quiet your brain before sleep. Misconception number 4, my stress is too severe or unique. If you're dealing with severe anxiety, PTSD, or overwhelming stress, you may believe that your particular situation is uniquely resistant to healing, or wonder if it will work for you. And the reality is the body doesn't differentiate between the sources of stress when activating your fight or flight response. Whether from work pressure, family challenges, or severe trauma, these techniques engage the universal responses of your nervous system. And that's why they're proven effective with the most extreme cases, including military veterans with PTSD and people processing profound grief. And remember Nancy, who lost both parents within 12 months. She discovered she could use these processes to release some grief in manageable chunks without being overwhelmed, particularly the second process that I'm going to go through. These techniques often work best for those with the most active minds and severe stress because they bypass the intellectual resistance and provide a direct pathway to calm. It's essential to shift your mental and emotional state from chaos to calm before doing meditation. This initial transformation or state change, that process prepares your mind and body to be receptive to stress relief techniques, such as meditation. What we're doing is changing our state before the practice begins. This essential shift from chaos to calm is one of the key ways that meditative drawing is different from traditional meditation. This is the missing first step that makes meditation finally work, even if your brain feels like a tornado of thoughts. And there's many, many ways that traditional mindfulness and meditation is different from meditative drawing. So I'll just go through that and sharing the importance of state change and why that helps. Changing your state interrupts the cycle of overwhelm. It brings you out of the tornado of thoughts in your head and makes meditation far easier. It's very simple, and we do it in a way that it can't not work. Breath work is a physical process that calms your body. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which slows down your heart rate. It lowers your blood pressure, lowers your level of the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, and it slows your breathing. This process is part of meditative drawing. That's why it works for people that have never done anything like this before. Now, the process of meditative drawing has all the benefits of meditation, but it's easier to do and easier to stick with. And because meditative drawing is hands-on with the drawing, it channels your focus and provides a tangible creative outlet. Okay, just about at the first exercise. State change is the key to unlocking a deeper calm, and it's the cornerstone of meditative drawing. Each meditative drawing session starts with intentionally and actively changing your state. To do this, we use breath work, but in a unique way. Many of you will be familiar with breath work. However, in a specific breathing pattern that we're going to be using, we combine that with drawing, which has the immediate effect of changing your state. The first exercise I want to share with you is simple yet powerful action that can dramatically improve your meditation and mindfulness practice. This one step before you begin has the potential to completely transform your experience, makes meditation and mindfulness more accessible so people can experience the extraordinary benefits of meditation. What I'd love to do with everyone here is to show you how fast the state change can be and how it's a physical process. You don't need to believe in it. It only takes about 5 minutes. And this is the first technique. Now, so you can understand the power of changing your state, I'd like to ask you to just check in with yourself before we begin so you can do a comparison. How busy is your mind on a scale of 1 to 10 at the moment? If 2 to 3 is having a quiet, calm mind with few thoughts, and 7 to 8 is a racing tornado of thoughts, how would you rate the busyness of your mind just at the moment? So think for a bit and then just put that in chat. Thank you. And thanks for your comments. Yep. Yep. And okay, we just need a couple markers or a couple pens and several sheets of paper. And we'll be doing the 3 drawing techniques. This is the first of the 3 techniques. It's called square breathing or box breathing, and it helps us change state. That is to begin to quiet the mind and body. And we'll combine it with drawing to make it more effective. It's simple, and we're going to do it together. All right, we'll dive in. And I use these techniques all the time. And the square breathing with the drawing, I genuinely use almost every day. It's really simple, but it's a very powerful thing to do. Now that we understand why these techniques are powerful, and we've addressed the common myths that hold people back, I want to share the 3 game-changing techniques about transforming stress into creativity and calm. Each of these techniques builds on the previous creating a complete approach that makes stress management both accessible and sustainable. Okay, we will draw rows of 5 squares, and just as we do the breathing in, holding, breathing out, and holding, I'll just draw a series of squares. I find the drawing really useful because it gives me something to do with my hands and something to focus on. And it helps me not think about the 17 other things that are going through my head. But up to you. If you find it distracting, then you can just do the breathing by itself. All right. So breathing in. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out. And hold, 2, 3. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, and hold. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, and hold. And if you can, breathe through your nose if that's comfortable. It helps lower anxiety and it's good for your body in all sorts of ways. Breathe in, 3, 4, hold. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and hold. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold. Breathe out and hold. I will do more rows. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold. Breathe out and hold. Breathing in, 3, 4, hold. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and hold. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and hold. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold. And breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and hold. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and hold. Great. Okay. Now just check in with yourself after the breath work. How do you feel? Has there been a state change? Do you feel just a little calmer? So how would you rate the busyness of your mind on a scale of 1 to 10 now? So 2 to 3 is having a quiet or calm mind. 7 to 8 is a racing tornado of thoughts. Just put that into chat if you might. Thank you. Just a very simple process, but it's a really useful practice. I've done that in business conferences, particularly after lunchtime when people's brains are overloaded and sluggish. This can help increase your focus, productivity, and concentration, and just being able to come back to the present. Okay, why does this work? And can you see how much more receptive you would be to stress reduction techniques, such as meditation or mindfulness or meditative drawing after that process? And can you feel the difference that's just calming your nervous system? So that's the first technique, the first secret. We need to change our state before we can work on effective stress management techniques. The breath work activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and that slows the heart rate, lowers your blood pressure, slows your breathing, and just lowers the levels of stress hormones, adrenaline, and cortisol. The calming is part of meditative drawing, and that's why it's accessible. Meditative drawing combines the techniques of breathwork, meditation, the wisdom of mindfulness with an enjoyable creative process that makes it something new. Real change begins quickly when you practice techniques that rewire your nervous system. Next, I'd like to share why most stress management techniques only give us temporary relief. Then I'll show you an exercise on how to unlock stress relief without ignoring deep emotions. Here's what most people don't realize. The stress we feel is really only the tip of the iceberg. The tension, the racing thoughts, the overwhelm, that's only the tip. Beneath that surface, the reservoir of old stored trauma, old experiences, and old emotions that continually feed that stress response, sort of a cycle. And this can be held in your body. So you might have a very calm, orderly life, but still feel a great deal of stress. And that can be from all the old unresolved issues that you're carrying around. So somehow we need to acknowledge and tap into that reservoir and release it. The stress we feel is just that tip. And then the old stored trauma is all that underneath. This is where most stress management approaches get it wrong. So if we only focus on positive thinking, it's like putting a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling wall. It's superficial when we know there are deep issues beneath there that we're not being dealt with. On the other hand, when we only focus on processing the negative, it's like continuously digging up the foundation of a house without ever building anything new. The flip side of that is only focusing on the negative. Sometimes in therapy, people can end up re-traumatizing themselves by focusing all on the past while they're trying to process it. This is the problem with most stress reduction approaches. They either ignore the underlying issues or you can get stuck into them. And there's absolutely a place for diving into past issues, but it has to be done carefully and you don't want to get stuck there. Real healing happens when we process the darkness, but also grow the light together. The breakthrough comes when we realize that effective stress management isn't just about choosing between cultivating the light or addressing the dark. It's about growing both, working on both simultaneously. This is what I call the release and replace principle. And it's a game changer for how we approach emotional well-being. This balanced approach addresses both the light and the dark aspects of mental health. That is observing, acknowledging, and releasing negative energy from the body without delving into stories of trauma, because we store trauma in the body, in the physical body. And as well as learning to shift the focus towards positive well-being. This is what meditative drawing encompasses. Okay, grab a pen marker or some paper again, and we're going to be diving in. And on this one, to be most effective, I suggest you just choose one emotion to release. Might be anger, resentment, grief, depression, or anxiety. And I use this technique when I'm really wound up about something, and my son uses it as well. This is what I call chaos drawing. We've got 2 more meditative drawing techniques to explore. These are quick, powerful exercises. And the first one will give you a real insight into what I mean about releasing the dark. It's called chaos drawing, and it helps you release strong, uncomfortable emotions. And I use this with kids and teenagers who had arthritis and they were dealing with a lot of pain and stress. They got it right away. It was really quite lovely. And it will make sense when you see the demonstration. I'll play the video to talk you through it. All right, here we go. In this drawing process, we're releasing a strong, uncomfortable emotion. Now, you don't have to feel that emotion right now, but I want you to tune in to whatever emotion you choose and just go with thinking about that just for a few minutes. Could be anger, could be resentment, could be grief, depression, anxiety, fear, whatever it might be that's uncomfortable. And we're just going to take a chunk of that emotion and release it on the page. And we're taking it from being inside our head to externalizing that and making marks on a piece of paper that express that emotion. Okay? In a workshop, we spend longer on this and go into it, and you can use music and all sorts of other things. But right now, we're just going to take a few minutes so you can see what this is like. And you need to make some noise because that's part of involving your body and not just your mind. So we're going to growl or grumble or bark or just some kinds of noises. If you were alone in a house, you might swear your head off or yell at whatever you're angry at. Right now, I'm just going to growl and grumble. So give yourself permission to be a bit ridiculous, have a bit of fun with it, and just take a few minutes to release whatever that strong emotion is. Okay. And probably put yourself first, and then you can do it. So I've filled up my whole page with marks. I want you to have a go and do the same. Okay. So have a bit of fun with it and dive into whatever strong emotion you're choosing and make some noise. You can put yourself on mute. So just fill your whole page, have a bit of fun with it. And then just pause and come back to yourself and notice what's going on in your body. I find that I go from whatever that emotion is being locked up in my body to actually feeling energized and much more alive. And I feel like the blood's coursing through my body and I feel the oxygen moving through me and just feel much more alive in a really good way. Okay, gets your heart pumping, doesn't it? And yeah, I'm curious if you feel more energized. It's an odd process. I was wondering how people would take that when I first did it, but people found it really useful. And that was one of the things that particularly helped with grief or depression, and making noise and helps you genuinely externalize negative emotions in a way that's not diving into the story. And after a while, you realize that discharging those strong, uncomfortable emotions can be a bit of a game, can be something that you play with to learn to dive in and allow yourself to release those emotions. And it becomes safer over time to move into those uncomfortable spaces, and your tolerance for being able to go into and release those emotions goes up. It's really a very useful technique. All right. Our third technique here. This is the third art therapy exercise or meditative drawing technique. It's called drawing calm. And after this, I'll share some key points on stress. This is our third video. It's a chance to slow down, just reset your system, and experience what true calm feels like on paper. Okay, and you can just dive in as soon as you get the hang of what we're doing here.
In this exercise, it's about drawing calm. So what would calm look like? To me, that's very flowing lines, nothing jagged. We want to slow down, and we want to do very slow, loopy lines. So dive in as soon as you're ready. We're drawing calm, slow curves, nice and even. And we're going to fill 1 or 2 sheets of paper. But force yourself to go very slow and see if you can make nice, even curves and loops. Focus on what you're doing, and just for now, forget the whole rest of the world and just focus on making marks on the page. See if you can make even lines that are curved and smooth. Loops and loops. Moving around the page. And you can hum if you like. Humming calms the nervous system. It's quite interesting. Very slowly. See if you can control your hand. Curves and loops. Filling up the page down the bottom. Humming up again. And nice, smooth curves. And control your hand. And know you're calming your nervous system. This forces you to slow down. It gives your brain something to do. And instead of thinking, you're doing. So slowly fill the whole page. Hum if you like. Just take a few minutes and concentrate on the color and the line and the movement of your hand on the page.
fill it up, going into all the corners. And there you go. Wonderful. There you go. Okay. And I hope you feel just a little bit calmer by forcing yourself to slow down. Very good.
Okay. Now you've done our unique version of square breathing to quiet the mind. You've done chaos drawing to release negative emotions, and drawing calm to recenter yourself. This last time, just to understand the power of these exercises on changing state, I'd like to ask you to check in with yourself. How busy is your mind now? Think for a moment and put that into chat. Has there been a change? To recap, here's the thing that you want to take away from this. What you've just experienced firsthand is how these 3 simple drawing exercises work together to create lasting change. This isn't about temporary relief. It's about addressing both sides of the emotional equation, both the dark and the light, in a way that feels natural and effortless. What makes meditative drawing unique is that it automatically gives us this balanced approach. With drawing chaos, it's releasing those old stored emotions without getting trapped in the story behind them. And drawing calm creates new neural pathways in your brain, gradually training your nervous system to find that state of calm and peace more easily. And in doing this, you gain the same benefits as meditation, while flowing between the release and replace in a way that feels as natural as breathing. Now, I'd like to talk about the exponential effect of regular practice. What we know now is that there's an incredible change that takes place in your brain when you practice these techniques on a regular basis. I found this quite fascinating. This is the ability to literally change the physiology of your brain with your thoughts. That is to rewire your neural pathways. And this is really important when you're healing from some trauma or you're just being used to being in a hyper alert state. I'll explain what I found when I did my own research. Up until recently, people thought that the brain was fixed from birth and never changed and couldn't change. And if your brain was damaged, the assumption was that you lost that function in the damaged area forever. However, in the past 20 years, there have been many case studies on people recovering from injuries to the brain. And gradually, doctors and scientists realized that the brain itself can indeed change. This ability to change is called neuroplasticity. Big word, I know. Neuroplasticity simply means that the brain can change and adapt to forming new connections based on what you learn, experience, or what you practice. So what does that mean for all of us? It means we've got the ability to change or rewire the neural pathways in our brains. And when you practice meditation and mindfulness repeatedly and consistently, you're physically rewiring the nervous system's stress response and creating new neural pathways. This means that change can begin now, and practices like meditative drawing accelerate this process. In fact, there have been studies done on the brain of people who meditate regularly and find that the actual patterns in the brain change. For example, there's a study that was done at University of Wisconsin-Madison on Tibetan Buddhist monks using MRI scans on their brain just to see what happens if you do these practices regularly. The monks had meditated over several years on a regular basis, and it was shown that this regular meditation practice had actually altered the structure and the function of their brains through neuroplasticity. I mean, I just find that incredible, huh? And they found that they were less reactive to emotional disturbance, so they didn't get upset about things as much. They had better ability to concentrate, and this change was visible in the scans. In essence, meditation rewired their brains to better handle stress, to improve their focus, to become calmer and more grounded. These changes weren't just temporary. This long-term meditation results in lasting improvements in brain function and well-being. So all these skills are things that really make life a lot easier to manage. So the big takeaway here is when you stick with these practices, not necessarily meditating all day, every day like monks, but just including these practices in your day, in your week, incredible changes do happen. your neural pathways are gradually rewired for calm, and life becomes genuinely easier to manage. And when I'm working with participants, we find that even small regular changes have exponential effects. They tell me that within a couple weeks, they've improved ability to focus, far more clarity, less racing thoughts, and finding that they're less reactive and less likely to just dwell on stuff. And this doesn't take a lot of work. I'm talking about something as simple as meditation, guided mindfulness exercises, or doing meditative drawing a couple times a week. Even small, regular changes can have big exponential effects, and it doesn't require special talents or a lot of time. Because meditative drawing is so easy and accessible, you'll be able to stick with it, and you can get the results. This means that you get all those long-term benefits, rewiring your nervous system over time without all the frustration. And the process of getting there is satisfying and enjoyable. And these were some of the comments from my pilot workshop. Big sleeping better, less anxious, a lot of very profound, very simple changes. Secrets to lasting calm. And we start with state change. Most people can't meditate because of racing thoughts and restlessness. It just doesn't work for them. But when you combine breath work and drawing before you begin, we calm the nervous system and activates the body's relaxation response. And that's why meditative drawing is so easy to start and much easier to stick with than traditional meditation. And with the drawing calm, you're rewiring your nervous system. And by repeating this, you're building skills for natural emotional balance. And in my workshops, we have a whole series of different creative exercises that are fun, but have very specific purposes for helping calm your nervous system and yet rewiring your brain for calm, and makes it so that you can move into calm faster. Okay, to recap, in the first exercise, we're starting with state change. We discovered most people struggle with meditation because of racing thoughts and restlessness. And that makes it hard to stick with meditation and just unsatisfying. But the game changer here, by using state change of breath work combined with drawing, before you begin, we can physically calm our nervous system. This activates the parasympathetic nervous response, lowering stress hormones and lowering your heart rate. And that's why meditative drawing is so accessible. It builds this state change right into the process, making meditation easy and easier to stick with. Okay, in the second exercise with chaos drawing, we're learning about the release and replace principle. So here you're releasing strong emotions. We discovered that stress is like an iceberg. What we feel on the surface is just the tip, with deeper stored emotions underneath. And that most stress release activities approach either ignore these emotions or get stuck processing them. But here's the game changer. Through chaos drawing and then the balance with drawing calm, we can address both the negative and the positive. The chaos drawing releases stored emotions without getting trapped in the stories, while the drawing calm creates new pathways for peace. And that's why meditative drawing works so well. It naturally flows between release and replace, creating lasting change instead of temporary relief. Now, I've got a question for you. After experiencing these techniques firsthand, I want to ask you something important. How would your life change if you could access this state of calm whenever you needed it? Or use these skills to help clients? Now, not just during your webinar, but any time that stress starts to take over. This is about rewiring your neural pathways. And finally, in the third technique, we learned about substantial benefits that come from regular meditation. We discovered that brains can physically change through a process called neuroplasticity, as shown in the studies of meditation masters, whose brains physically changed on the MRI scans. Even practicing meditative drawing a couple times each week can really rewire your neural pathways for greater calm and focus. This creates long-term transformation that's simple and satisfying, and it can start leading you out of high anxiety or PTSD. So meditative drawing, it's accessible, it's fun, it's emotionally safe, and designed for real people with real stress. Okay, look, we've got two paths to go from here. You can continually struggling alone with your stress, trying meditation apps or self-help books that may sit half finished on your nightstand, or spending money on therapies that may only provide temporary relief. Or you can join me on a guided journey that combines everything you've just experienced into a complete system that actually works, even for people who've never been able to meditate or draw before. So I've combined all these skills and many more that we aren't covering in the webinar. So with your permission, I'd love to share how you can master these techniques and transform your relationship with stress permanently. Would that be okay? Would it be okay to share information about the program? And what if you could master these techniques and transform your relationship with stress permanently? Okay, all right. This is a life-changing opportunity, and I'm really excited to introduce the Meditative Drawing program that I've developed, a transformative 30-day journey that I've crafted specifically for overthinkers and those struggling with anxiety, stress, and racing thoughts. It isn't just another meditation program. It's a complete system that harnesses the same powerful 3 techniques that you've just experienced and many more. So over 30 days, it rewires your nervous system for lasting calm. And it's a lot of fun. But here's exactly how I'll transform your relationship with stress over the next 4 weeks. First, we begin by creating your personal stress baseline and introducing foundational techniques that start rewiring your nervous system from day one. You'll experience immediate relief during our first live session of mugs and marks, simple drawing exercise that calms racing thoughts. And I'll explain what's in the program. Okay, first, it's awareness. Just deepening your practice with circles and a grid, powerful technique that creates flow, state, even during stressful moments. So just starting off acknowledging where you've come from. And awareness, you're starting to have a better sleep and more tension relief. And you may notice shifts in your sleep quality and ability to handle everyday tensions. Many participants report this week is when their families first notice that there's change in them. In week 3, it's more a sense of empowerment. These skills are starting to come together. You're starting to use them in your own life, and where transformation starts accelerating. Our Chaos to Calm live drawing session really teaches you to process the difficult emotions without getting stuck in them. And after going through them in a group, it's much easier to do those on your own so that you can use the process yourself. You master those difficult emotions without getting stuck in them, and dealing with learning the breathwork techniques that activate your parasympathetic nervous system in seconds and giving you a reliable off switch for anxiety. And in week 4, a sense of mastery. Now you can cement your new neural pathways in our Flow Interrupted session. The final week integrates everything that you've learned, and you'll develop personalized practices that work specifically for your unique stress patterns. And this is where temporary improvement moves into more permanent change. So that's a complete transformative system. And if you join today, you'll receive immediate access to the whole program. I'll just dive into some details of the program, and then we can talk again at the end. Happy to take questions and just have a discussion and find out about what you're doing as well. Okay, we start with a personal creative wellness call. We'll start with a private one-to-one Zoom session where I'll personally help you identify your unique stress patterns and point out the elements in the program that will be most helpful for your needs. This alone ensures that you'll get maximum results from every minute that you invest. And then there are 4 live weekly meditative drawing sessions that we do together, and there's also pre-recorded ones. So join me live each week for 75 minutes of guided practice. We'll lead you through transformative drawing exercises in real time. These sessions are where the magic happens, where theory becomes physical change in your nervous system, and that's valued at $900. Comprehensive member portal access. Between the live sessions, you'll have 24/7 access to step-by-step video tutorials, to guided exercises, and resources to support your daily practice. This ensures you're never left wondering what to do next. And that's all in the membership. Comprehensive drawing sheets and these worksheets have some detailed information about stress and also the creative prompts for each session. So you're never worried about doing it wrong. And even if you've never drawn before, these templates guide you in the drawing exercise that activate calm in your nervous system. And if you're already, this gives you new ideas to try, valued at $480. Stress reduction breathwork coaching. You'll receive the details of powerful breathing techniques, each demonstrated in clear step-by-step videos that you can follow anywhere, anytime. We're explain diaphragmatic breathing and go into the square breathing. I'm looking at other techniques to add as well. These techniques are the same ones used by elite military units. The Navy uses them. Experienced yogis and top executives to maintain calm under extreme pressure, valued at $350. But 5 specialized grounding exercises. Some of these are vagus nerve exercises, from the ladybug hug to windshield wiper. These 5-minute video guides help you step out of your head and coming back to the present during overwhelming or high-stress moments. And I found these small 5-minute exercises, if I do them mid-afternoon, makes a huge difference for how I feel at the end of the day. They're perfect for using at your desk or a family gathering, valued at $500. A curated healing resource library. Access my collection of leading books on healing that deepen your understanding of how and why these techniques create such profound changes. But on the lighter side, the list includes novels and memoirs sharing people's healing journeys and insights in story form. Two visual meditations so you can experience mindfulness on guided journeys through forest and through both forests and Australian rainforest settings. These are specially designed to activate your parasympathetic nervous system and deepen your practice. And it did a trip to the Australian rainforest and the Daintree. 6 months of continuous access. Everything remains available for a full 6 months, allowing you to revisit any session or resource as often as needed to strengthen your practice. When you add everything up, the real value of this complete system comes to over $3,675. But now when this program officially launches to the public this month, it'll be priced at $997, which is less than 30% of the total value. But because you're here today participating in this webinar, you won't pay $997, and you won't pay $497 either. For webinar participants only, you can join the complete meditative drawing program for $199. That's less than the cost of just one therapy session for a complete system that can transform your relationship with stress permanently. Now, there's limited availability because the program includes personal attention and live sessions, so I have to limit the enrollment to 25 people. This ensures everyone receives the support and guidance they need to succeed. In our last session, we had these spots filled completely in 48 hours. So additionally, this is a special webinar pricing of $199. After that, the price goes up to $997. Now, you might be wondering, hey, will this really work for me? Let me share a few recent participants, what they experienced. Lula Diamantopoulos, who's a psychotherapist and artist in Australia, she said, hey, amazing, brilliant workshop, enjoyed it thoroughly, very interesting. Such simple techniques, such powerful impacts on the nervous system. Soraya Raju, workshop was truly meditative experience. Helen McGuire, when I can't get to sleep at night, I do some of these drawings. It's wonderful. And Carrie Harthen from the USA, an ordained minister and veteran with PTSD, who struggles with tremors. The meditative drawing session has calmed the tremor. That's wonderful. Clearly, you've developed a craft here that's superb, really helpful to people. And Dulcie Lupton from Papua New Guinea. I found it very relaxing. It's like a little mindfulness exercise. I'd recommend it. And even Barbara Clark from California, who was skeptical at first. I had fun with this. I realize the drawing can be sloppy. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a great practice, and I just adore it. I do it quite a bit, and it's very valuable. Now, I believe so strongly in the program, I'm removing all the risk with my unconditional guarantee. So if you choose to join us today and experience the full program for 14 days, if you don't feel like it's making a significant difference with your stress levels and overall well-being, simply let me know, and I'll refund your entire investment. No questions asked. I can offer this guarantee because I've seen these techniques work for many people, from veterans with PTSD to busy parents, from executives to creative professionals. The science is clear, and the results speak for themselves. So if you're ready to transform your relationship with stress, here's what you can do right now. Just scan the QR code to join, or I'll email it to you afterwards. And you'll get immediate access at members area, and you can schedule your creative wellness call and begin your journey to calm today. And you sign up, fill in your details, complete your payment, and check your email for immediate access. Within minutes, you'll receive your login details, and you can begin exploring the program. There's many things that are pre-recorded, and then there's also what's live, so you can do it any time of day. And that's what the program looks like. And just there's the QR code if you want to catch that. And just picture yourself 30 days from now, having mastered these techniques, and imagine how different your mornings could feel without that knot of anxiety. Envision falling asleep easily without your mind racing through tomorrow's worries. And this isn't just about feeling better. It's about really reclaiming your mental space that stress has stolen from you. It's about having the clarity to focus on what really matters in your life. Okay, this is the complimentary gift that I mentioned at the beginning. I made a promise to you on that. So you can scan the QR code now and receive the link for the free meditation and a nervous system reset. Okay, I'll just stop sharing, and I'd love to hear feedback, what those exercises were like for you. So please unmute yourself.
Well, thank you so much for providing such a foundation of why this works and how it works, and then leading us through the practices, the box breathing and squares. That was really good, as well as the, all three were just really worked in synergy, I suppose, if I had to come up with a word. And it was effective in an area where I struggle sometimes, and just allowing my busy mind to settle down. That somatic practice of moving the pen around is just really effective. I'm quite impressed. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, it's really important to have tools that you can use yourself every day and understand what it is you're doing. Why does this work? And what's happening? I think it's reassuring to understand the practices, what the neuroscience behind it is, and that in doing them, you're retraining your nervous system to actually have calm and to give people hope that they can take control of what's going on and release stress themselves. And thanks. I really appreciate your feedback. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I agree with you as well, as that we need to unplug. We need to get a step away from the noise. The effects it has on us are inescapable. And it's our own responsibility to show up for ourselves and do this type of work and find the tools that resonate with us in order to implement them so that we experience the benefits, and then we resonate that calm into our own environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Mary Ellen, give any feedback?
I was very impressed. I was very impressed because today happened to be a stressful day. I actually was bringing this webinar to possibility collaborate with you in a client base that I have.
Yeah.
And so I was quite surprised when I went, oh, that felt good. So yeah, very effective, very easy. I'm not a meditator. I couldn't sit still long enough to meditate. So this is very effective. This is very effective work you're doing.
Right. Yep. Yeah. These sorts of techniques help people let go of all that busyness in the brain, calm down the nervous system, and leave space for new so that you can go back to the next few hours of a conference and say, okay, now I can actually listen again. Or I was dealing with teens who had arthritis, who were 14, who were dealing with pain and trying to go to school with other kids and having a way of letting that go. And they had great fun with the chaos drawing. It was really lovely to see simple techniques that really allow people to engage. And it seems a bit weird at first, but getting them barking and growling and making noise it's just a simple way of getting them breathing and getting them to vent, and but in a way that it seems sort of silly and funny rather than frightening. And
Yes.
then because they're doing that breathing, they're engaging the whole body, and it's a way of releasing. So yeah.
I like that sentence, leave space for new. That's a powerful sentence. Leave space for new. So I work with high performers who are in grief, in burnout. They have to continue functioning even though they're at a spot that needs to really stop and move. So my job is to be the scaffolding and put systems in place so that they can continue to function as they also continue to heal.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love doing collaborations because I learned from each one, and there's so many ways of healing. And when I'm working online, people can not share, and that's fine. And then after a few weeks, people are diving in and sharing and cheering each other on and going, "That's a cool mix of colors. Hey, you just drew differently than I did." And there's an engagement where people are cheering each other on, and it isn't a competition. It isn't about the art. It's about using art as a process to release in quite a different way.
It's an effective tool in the tool belt, I'm learning now, and we all need those.
Yes.
How one is needed.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Oh, Luke, do you want to speak up?
When I was working on that last bit, the part about drawing to calm, I think it was. That's my absolutely favorite one, and I'm going to be doing a lot of that.
Okay.
Because why that was the case was because on paper with my marker, I could flow. It felt like I was falling, freely. I did a lot of loops, so it was as if I was letting go of tension. That was how it felt for me. So for someone who's been practicing meditation for decades now, for me to be able to achieve that without having to sit in a very quiet place where there's no interference and no interruption, and just achieve that in seconds, that's fascinating for me. And I'm going to be sharing with my kids for sure.
Oh, cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I did some of these sessions during COVID. I had some parents with kids at the table because they were home during COVID, but it worked well because these were techniques that kids could watch their parents doing and they could join in if they wanted. They weren't anything scary. There wasn't a lot of psychological language. And it's a practice that the kids could learn. I mean, my son does chaos drawing. Sometimes he'll come home from work, being all frustrated and upset. And he'll say, "Mom, where's that recording? I want to do that drawing thing." And he'll disappear in his room for 20 minutes and go off and doing some chaos drawing. And then he'll do the drawing column. I'm really glad to give him a technique that he can use for the next 40 years. It's simple. It's cheap.
And Natalie, do you wish to add anything? It's fun if you do and fun if you don't. If you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to.
I thought that was very informative and really good to hear the science behind it all, because I definitely know it works. My own grief journey taught me how powerful art was. I'm an art teacher, so I used to think art was just about the curriculum and about painting and drawing and teaching people to, or kids to do all the things that are in the curriculum. But yeah, once I lost my husband, it was like, oh my God, it's so powerful as a healing tool. And I teach this kind of thing to adults as well. There's so much you can do to make it then into something so beautiful that you're very proud of it. And
Yes.
and yet you've got all that healing process at the same time.
So you lead workshops for adults around grief?
Yeah, not just around grief. So I'm in Brisbane in Australia, and because I don't have a counselling background, I really focus on teaching art skills, but the mindset behind it, that if you stick with it, it will have those benefits. The majority of my work is not just meditative kind of calm stuff. It's moving them forward. Now that you believe in art, let's give you some skills that will get you working just in journals, not trying to transform my clients into exhibiting artists. It's just your hobby, your private relaxation thing that you do in your own time, in your own space. And you don't have to let anyone know that this is one of the things that you like to do to calm your mind and to make hope return. And so I lost my husband to suicide. So it's really definitely my passion now to help other people with their mental health by having a really healthy hobby like art.
Yep. Yeah. No, I absolutely understand. Yeah. My husband basically drank himself to death over 12 years, and it was horrifying to watch. And it's hard to talk with other people who haven't had that sort of a confrontive experience, and the strong emotions scare them. It's really important to have ways of discharging all those emotions. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Out of the source of the trauma, I think
I had so many people say to me over the years, "Oh, compared with what you went through, my trauma or grief or worries are nothing." No, that is certainly not true. There's so many things out there that trigger people in different ways and can be very hard to deal with, but we can all work through it by doing things that do actually help our stress levels calm down and help us to heal. I liked what you said about it being a busy world and how much stress there is just normally in our lives with social media and the news, and everybody's feeling that busyness and stress. And then I thought, yeah, that's so true. So maybe back in the early, 100 years ago, grief might have been just a little bit easier to cope with because life was slower. And so grief was sort of an accepted part. I mean, even the fact that they wore black dresses for 12 months, so people knew you were grieving. And so I think now the stress and traumas that we go through is swept under the rug because everybody's got their own stress. Yeah, it just made me think for the first time that, some people have got that on top of the normal level of stress at working and being busy and feeling inadequate and FOMO and all sorts of
and pain isn't a competition. I mean, I absolutely agree.
No, that's right.
Saying that if somebody said, "Oh, what I'm dealing with is nothing like that," these are skills that everyone can use. Pain isn't a competition. Having these skills to heal is really precious. It just allows you to deal with the ups and downs of life much more easily. Yeah. Thank you.
Very worthwhile session. So thank you.
Oh, good. Good. Hey, thank you for being here. And I really appreciate your presence and your feedback. That's really lovely. And goodbye from me in Sydney. Take care.